What's up, fellow gamers? Phreak here, and apparently we're doing two champions at a time because I ramble on too long, so it's part two, a few days behind the times, of the Legends of Runeterra Set 3 expansion. This is the first roughly half of what will eventually be the Targon set, and this is the first expansion of which. And so we covered Tarek and Lulu, and thus the sort of support archetype in part one of this video, which you will probably just find as a related video on the sidebar. I will almost always forget to do actual linking underneath because I'm bad. And we're going to go into part two, which is some other stuff. It'll be interesting. So let's cover it, and we'll dice up champions as needed, and hit kind of good stopping points when it makes sense. But we're going to start with the Trundle stuff here. So the first card here is Faces of the Old Ones, and it's a 2-mana 0/2, which is obviously trash. On round start, if you behold an 8+ cost card, you get an extra mana gem this round. So behold is if you see it in your hand or in play on your side on round start. So you must have an 8-cost card in hand, play this on turn 2. On turn 3, if it's not dead, it will do its round start effect, which is an extra mana gem this round. So it is basically wording stones in a world where you have an 8-drop in your hand, but it costs 1 less. It's easier to kill than wording stones, but it is basically an extra mana gem this round. It's not like it's going to stack forever. It is wording stones. It is up 1 for the round, unless I'm missing something. And I know, like, for the first few minutes of the previous video, I forgot that the grant effect was permanent. But as far as I can tell, if you behold, and again, in hand or in play, obviously you're not going to have an 8-drop in play on round 2. And in most cases where an 8-drop's in play, you don't care about an extra mana gem. You still can't go to 11 mana gems. Maybe that'll get broken at some point down the line. Maybe it'll be a champion effect. You can have 12 mana gems. Okay, cool. You can do bigger combos. But for now, we're stuck with 10 mana gems. So this is cheap wording stones, situational. And my belief is this card is bad. I don't think it's really any better than wording stones. The specialty here is you can play it on 2. So that way, you can play a 4-drop on round 3 while you've got an 8-drop in your hand. Like, it's not special. The fact that this dies more easily, things like Avalanche instant kill it, not that people really run Avalanche. The fact that it can be Mystic Shot, someone like, actually, no, we're just going to Mystic Shot this so you can't play your stuff on curve. Like, this is so much more easily removed. It can't chump block as much. The benefit is it happens 1 round sooner, but the drawback is this card is overall worse, and it comes with conditions. So you might not have an 8-drop in hand. This either means you need a 1-cost card that generates an 8-drop or a 2-cost card that generates an 8-drop, but then you can't play this on 2, and then you just play Wording Stones. So it has to be a 1-drop that generates an 8-cost card in hand, or just play Wording Stones, generally speaking. So I have a really hard time finding this card good. I think it's complete trash. If there is synergy around beholding, like every time you behold something, gain something, okay, then it becomes maybe a 2, but like, I don't feel like this card is good. Even if Wording Stones didn't exist, I might still not like this card, but Wording Stones does exist and almost no one plays it. So I have a hard time finding use for this card. Now, there may be egg on my face one day where it's like, well, actually, it turns out that you play your 3-drop or your 4-drop on 3 and you win the game. And it's like, okay, well, I was behind the times. But and I've like looked through these cards before, I don't think it's there. I think this card is trash. Next up, we have Troll Scavenger. Troll Scavenger is a 2-mana 1/3. That's solid. I mean, it's okay. It's not great, but it's serviceable if there's an effect, which there is. When I am summoned, if you behold an 8-cost card, grant me, so permanent. If you behold an 8-drop, I'm a 4/3. Well, a 2-mana 1/3 is bad, but not complete garbage. A 2/2 would be better, of course, but it is a 2-mana 4/3 in situations where you are holding an 8+ cost card in your hand. Now, the problem with this is, again, unless you generate it from a 1-drop, you are not going to have that card in hand without holding on to an unplayable card for a very, very, very long time. Now, sometimes that's okay. Like, for example, Ancient Yeti, I believe, works out well. And in fact, hold on one second. In my world, I paused the recording and looked up Ancient Yeti, which is a 7-drop initially. So sadly, Ancient Yeti can't do it. But we did see up earlier that Targon has, it's like you reach the summit, it is a 10 mana 6/6 overwhelm that gets uncosted. Like, that's the kind of card you hold on to and say, I hold on to this card, I drop Troll Scavenger, I drop Face of the Old Ones, but then it's not going to be an 8-cost card. Don't worry, it's going to go down to 6. I'm going to play it on curve, and it's going to be okay. Like, that's kind of the saving grace, but there's not enough of those cards. And even an 8-mana spell, like, think about something like Remembrance. Like, imagine this said Behold, a 6-cost card. Like, Lux holds Remembrance on purpose, right? She's like, yeah, please, I'm going to play this as my 3-drop. We're good to go. If this said 6+ cost card, it's like, well, I have Remembrance. I'm going to hold on to that. I'm going to play this on 2. I'm going to play the other thing on 3. And then I'm going to play Remembrance with spell mana on 4 or 5. It's like, yeah, cool. That's amazing. But 8s don't really do that. Again, if there's a card that I'm missing here that's like a really obvious hold, this card is still mediocre. And I'm going to say, like, I don't think Behold 8 cost is an archetype. Like, I think the amount this hand is situational is not good enough. So think about the 2-drops people actually play in Legends of Runeterra. They play things like Bright Steel Protector, right? 2 mana 3/2 gives someone barrier. War Chefs is like a blowout on curve, but also, not complete trash later on in the game. Avarosan Sentry is awesome, whether it's on curve or later in the game. Cursed Keeper is pretty decent as a 2-drop. Obviously, you want it as a combo piece, but it can live on the board for a while, and you can find your combo piece later. This needs your combo piece in hand, or you're playing a crappy 2-drop. I still don't like this. I think it has merit in Expeditions because you can curve out. I'm not convinced this card is actually playable, or that like its archetype's any good. Maybe it comes down the line, but like the mana cost is too bad. Like, if this kind of like +3 stat premium happened on maybe 4 or 5, and you had the ability to generate those cards, maybe I'm there for you, but I just don't see it. Next up, we get Troll Ravager. Right, Troll Ravager is a 4 mana 3/5. It's okay. It's an okay stat line. I wouldn't ever main deck this. It would be like a 2 or 2.5 in Expeditions, but it would be unplayable and constructed. But when I'm summoned, if you behold an 8+ cost card, grant me regeneration. So it is optimistically a 4 mana 3/5 regeneration. Well, for 5 mana, there is an always 4/6 regen Overwhelm. I'm pretty sure that card costs 5 mana. I'm sorry if I'm wrong. I am a bit rusty on my card memories because I've been playing less LOR recently, and so some of this is out of touch, potentially. Also, I want to point out, by the way, that when I was referencing Shadow Assassin in the previous video, I meant old pre-nerf Shadow Assassin, not the 1/2 version, but the 2/2 version, which was in every deck. I realized I was not clear about that. That's on me. Regardless, I don't feel like Troll Ravager is very good. Now, I will say, a 4 mana 3/5 regen is actually pretty solid and constructed. In Expeditions. The opposite of constructed in Expeditions. It's a 4 if this was always a 4 mana 3/5 regen. Like, this would be a card you'd be excited to see and is in the top 20% of cards. The fact that you have to see the card means it's kind of mediocre. But by round 4, you've seen 2 more draws. Your odds at finding the 8-drop are better. Now, what's interesting is here's another caveat here about this, and this also might mean I'm totally wrong about this, and the other ones are better. Is if you see that you're going to be able to play on curve, you've got a good 1-drop, a good 2-drop, a good 3-drop, you will keep this 8 mana spell because, well, don't worry about it. I'm going to get Behold on curve, and we're going to pop off, right? We're going to play this on 2, this on 3, and who the hell stops a 3/5 regen on 3? Absolutely no one, right? Like, that's incredible when it hits, right? And this might be why I am barking up the wrong tree, because the combo is clearly there. How the hell do you kill this card? Like, if they played any cards at all, they can't even Thermo Beam it. I mean, I guess if they played a 2-drop, they could, but in a world where you have Thermo Beam, you would have Thermo Beamed the bad wording stones. So, like, but okay, let's say this exists, right? Like, that combo exists, right? I mean, this is there as well, to play on 3 in case they nuke this thing. You get a 4/3, at a pretty acceptable clip. Like, the theory is there. And if this does come down early, like, what do you do about this? But lose. But I mean, the punishment is you take 3 damage every other round, which, like, you'll just take, and then like if this became a 5/5 regen or something, right? It's like, oh, okay, this thing's going to kill me in 3 rounds. I'm going to be functionally dead in 3 rounds, so I need to stop this thing really early and the pressure's on. But it's a 3/5, and I don't care. So, like, yeah, it's probably in the Constructor archetype, but like, even if this was a 4 mana 3/5 region with no other text, I still don't care that much. It's a 4 and a 3 instead of a 3 and a 2, but I still don't care. And calling a card good because you can ramp into it is, I think, a little fraudulent as well. Now, I will say, this is still a fairly well-costed, high-toughness regen unit, which is good in the case of, having a Scars archetype, right? Having Vladimir feed off of things taking damage, like having more regen bodies that aren't, on really awkward cost amounts can work out pretty well, right? Because you just ping your stuff, it regens back, you don't care, it's all fine, it's not a big deal, giving things health back. A regen archetype might work, but again, I just don't like this card very much. So now we see Oozgar the Ancient. This was an 8-drop. It is an 8-drop. It is theoretically something you hold in your hand so that you can actualize your other cards. Of course, them printing 8 drops for this makes sense. Of course they should. But it is a 7/7 Challenger regen. Now, this is interesting. This is, to my immediate recollection, outside of Braum, the only Challenger regen unit in the game. So this thing, every attack token kills something. And it's like, okay, if you Will of Ionia me for 5, okay, I have to replay this, and I go down 3 mana, but you go down a card, but, like, I'm going to go pick on Karma every round, I'm going to go pick on Callista every round, I'm going to go pick on level 1 Darius, I'm going to go pick on Draven, I'm going to pick on Garen, I'm going to pick on Fiora, I'm going to pick on Braum. I mean, outside of Tryndamere and leveled Darius, I can't immediately think of a champion that can challenge Oozgar the Ancient. That's pretty good. Like, this beats up almost every meaningful body in the game, and it does it again afterwards. And it defends something the round after. It goes back to 7 health every time. Like, this feels a little bad because you're paying 8 mana for a 7/7, but, like, if you can't answer this, you can't win the game. And answering an 8 mana 7/7 is not that hard. Like, you can Thermo Beam it for a 1 mana discount. You can Vengeance it for 1 mana discount. Scrap Shot, which I know no one plays, actually kills it for a 1 mana discount. Like, there are actually some decent answers here. Now, in Expeditions, there aren't. And this card is amazing. This card is great in Expeditions. If they Vengeance you, you're a little bit sad, but, like, this thing freaking wins you the game. Are you losing to Elusives? Well, they probably killed you before round 8, but if you haven't lost yet, goodbye to Greenglade Duo. Goodbye to the Lifeblade you buffed up twice. Like, this thing is in there. Is it constructed viable? Probably not, ultimately. Like, at the end of the day, paying 8 mana for a body that just is a body is just not something that gets played and constructed. It's maybe a 1. This card is actually, I'm gonna try to get into some bigger variants. This is probably unplayable and constructed. This card's great in Expeditions. And hey, this might actually end up being a combo piece. Like, sea monsters are just barely good enough, and there are 0 mana 7/7s in that deck. This is a 8 mana 7/7. And yeah, okay, Challenger's a big deal, but, like, all right, now we get Troll Chant. Troll Chant's interesting. Give an ally 2 health, give an enemy, and it's, by the way, give this round. It does not grant, it is give this round. Give an enemy -2 this round. So this continues the quasi-frostbite that Freljord has, but this can allow you to frostbite, functionally frostbite something. Because Ashe doesn't care about being frostbitten, she cares about having 0 power. Same with Shatter. Shatter cares about 0 power, not frostbite. So this, in a lot of ways, this is the first half of this card just is the card Brittle Steel. In most things that Brittle Steel hits, Troll Chant will hit. It's not exactly like there's variance here, but it's there a little bit. Like, this will fully frostbite Ezreal, level 2 Ezreal, whereas Brittle Steel wouldn't. There's some small variations there. Also, in general, 2 off is enough to care. What's interesting is there's also more of these down the line that are going to be in a different part of this video, or a different video, like part 3 or 4, that are beefed up versions of things like Elixir of Iron. This is Elixir of Iron plus mini Frostbite, right? This is exactly the text of Elixir of Iron. Give an ally +2/0, +0/2 this round. Also, give an enemy -2/0 this round. I'm not sure this is better or not. On the one hand, it is obviously more for your card, right? The fact that it costs a card means it is better in Expeditions. Elixir of Iron is quite obviously constructed viable card. And is pretty much hot garbage in expeditions. You try to not draft it if you can. This is still not great. Now, what's nice is this can be a 2-for-1, right? This can make you win one trade with 2 health and then win another trade with 2 less damage. That's really good. It's part of why back-to-back is such a phenomenal card in any zoo matchup in Constructed, but also just any expedition deck, because you are probably getting 2 cards for your 1 card. And that is amazing. In fact, you're sometimes getting 3 cards for your 1 card, because this would have died, but now it wins instead. That's already a difference of 2, and then this wins instead of, going 1-for-1, so it's a 3-for-1. Like, that card's incredible. This is more likely a 2-for-1 in ideal cases, which means, yeah, it's probably not bad. And for 2 mana, like that's solid. So expeditions, where you're just kind of playing a really raw value game most of the time, is pretty solid. In Constructed, it is twice as expensive as Elixir of Iron, and it is roughly twice as good as Elixir of Iron. This will get around things like quick attack sometimes. It'll get around strike effects. Again, level 1 or 2 Ezreal, this will break their strike effect while also doing something else. But this doesn't let you double Elixir of Iron to get around Static Shock, right? It doesn't do anything there. So is it okay in Constructed? Yeah, I mean, this card is at least playable. I would be shocked if there was no deck that ever ran this card in an established metagame where people are actually confident they're playing good cards. Is this card amazing? Probably not, but I don't know. This is like the right size and the right amount of stuff to make a zoo deck happy. I'm gonna go with a 3 because I think this card is good enough. I don't think it's phenomenal, and even Elixir of Iron, which gets Constructed play, is not phenomenal. Elixir of Iron would be a 2 or a 3 for me. And this is roughly Elixir of Iron in power level, which is intentional. It clearly does. It's roughly 2 Elixirs of Iron for 2 mana, with some amount of extra value per card, but also some amount of less flexibility. Overall pretty happy with it. So then we get Call of the Wild. So Call of the Wild is a 3 mana draw spell that can draw up to 4 cards. Well, draw 4 for 3 mana is obviously absurd, but, well, not quite what we're seeing. So for each of the top 4 cards in your deck, draw each Yeti, Poro, and Elnuk, and then shuffle the rest. So, hey, if you can just jam Yetis into your deck, you can draw them out. And what's nice is, I would say that Yeti is the primary archetype here. Now, there's a decent chance that we're actually going to see the Yeti, Poro, Elnuk deck in, day 1. For sure, someone's playing that deck. It's all the Yeti generation. It's all the Poros, which, there's a decent number in Freljord. And it's running the Elnuk package. And they're probably going to run Piltover for the cloning synergy to jam more of them in there. And this might get you there. There is a decent chance, not super troll. And by the way, this card is unplayable in expeditions. It will so frequently draw 0 cards. And it's not a full one, it's a 1.5, because if you have found yourself in a really heavy Elnuk deck where more than a quarter of your cards, keep in mind, right? This draws 1 card if a quarter of your deck is that card type, which means in Constructed, you must have 10 Yetis, Poros, and Elnuks, which, yeah, there are 6 total Elnuks, and there are 9 playable Poros, and there's 1, and this is counting multiples, by the way, right? There are 9 total Poro cards in your deck, and there are 3 playable Yetis. I mean, there's literally only 3 Yetis, but you know what I mean. I like the card, by the way. It's good in expeditions. Not great in Constructed, but it's fine. I mean, it's okay, but whatever. It's just a body. But that means you have to have, if you have 10 cards that are Yetis, Poros, and Elix in your deck, this is a 3 mana draw one, which is terrible. If you have 20, if literally half your deck are Yetis, Poros, and Elnuks, this draws 2, which is fine. That's solid. That's decent. Yeah, sure. Okay. And then if 3/4 of your deck, if you have 30 Yetis, Poros, and Elnuks in your deck, this draws 3, and the card is amazing. This is the definition of a 2. Now, of course, in the real world, you're playing the Trapper, right? You're playing the card that puts a Yeti in the top 3 cards of your deck, and ideally, you're playing 2 of them, and then jamming Call of the Wild and drawing them right away. Because the problem that I have found in playing this, the put Yetis top my deck and then play them, is that I'd run out of cards, because even though they're 1 mana 5/5s, they can be answered well enough that even though I got the tempo lead, They don't have regen, they don't have overwhelm, they eventually die, and, you know, I delayed drawing my champions, I delayed drawing my combat tricks. Yes, a 1 mana 5/5 is a good card, but it's 1 mana 5/5 that I draw on round 4, so how good is it really? And that's what tends to happen playing that deck out. What's good here is it allows me to draw those things, but then draw real cards afterwards. And that's useful. That's actually good. That's actually quite nice. It's actually beneficial. So I still don't think I love this card. It is certainly a lot of draw efficiency. Again, for this card to be considered great, you really need to have 30 of the card you want in your 40 card deck. That is an incredibly large number, and I'm not even sure there are enough Yetis, Poros, and Elix to do that. Which means the only way this card is actually good is if you just forcibly put Yetis in the top of your deck, but that means that in your top 4, well, okay, one of them is guaranteed, but now for this card to be good, you need 1/3 or 2/3 of your deck to be good. And so you still need 13 to 26 Yetis, Poros, and Elnuks main decked for Call of the Wild to draw 2 or 3 cards, which is still a pretty steep price. So I'm not sure I see it. But maybe, right? Maybe we get there, and maybe we just, we have enough of these look at the top of your deck and just run enough of them that if I didn't see it, we shuffle them down and we go again. That even though you can get unlucky, if you're running Call of the Wild and you're running Troop of Elnuks and you're doing all this other stuff, that you can get there. Maybe, right? Yeah, that's where we are. Alrighty, so now we get into the first champion of this group, which is Trundle. This is so big that he doesn't quite fit on the screen. He is a 5 mana. Here, we're going to try to zoom out just enough. Cool. This is enough that you can read everything. He is a 5 mana 4/6 regen. Okay. When I am summoned, create an Ice Pillar in hand. Okay, so he's a 5/4/6 regen. That's solid. That's decent. That generates a card in hand. And what's nice is this card in hand is an 8-cost card, so it turns on Behold effects. Okay, if this was a vanilla card, a 5 mana 4/6 regen that put a card in hand that allowed you to use all your Behold effects, that's pretty good. In Expeditions, that's a pretty solid 3. I wouldn't go much higher than that. It is once you're, on round 5, it's still kind of vanilla body. Like maybe it's more like a 3.5, but I'm not trying to do that here. And constructed as a generic body, this is not great. This is, pretty unplayable. It's a 2 because it would put that stuff online. If Trundle 1 were a follower, it's pretty weak. And Trundle 1 is a champion, meaning it takes up your champion slot, which would actually make it weaker if you can't level it up easily. That's an important point, right? Is that champions, of course, level up, but they deprive you of playing other champions. So there's the give and take there. So you level up when you see me play Ice Pillar, and you cannot play Ice Pillar till round 8. So on round 5, 6, and 7, Trundle is always a level 1 champion for sure. There's no way around this. I mean, outside of obviously, mana ramp, which Freljord has, don't get me wrong. Create an Ice Pillar in hand. Okay. I see you play an Ice Pillar. We're going to zoom around a little bit here, and here's Ice Pillar. It's hard to read. I'm sorry. It's a blurry screenshot. It is an 8 mana 0/8 that is vulnerable. Okay, so it doesn't do anything and it dies fast. But when you play me, you refill 8 mana. And so it's you must have 8 mana to play it. It's also slow, which means if you force me to play Deny, I can never get Ice Pillar down in time. I have to start my turn playing Ice Pillar, letting you react to this. I have my mana back, but I've forcibly passed priority to you to do this. Okay, sure. 8 mana. It also means I can't play it very well on defense because I play the Ice Pillar and then it's going to get attacked right away. It's vulnerable. It can be killed by something. So it's not great. I trade off some tempo and then move on. But when I play it and on round start, give the strongest enemy vulnerable this round. So I play it on my attack phase, or on when I have the attack token. I drop Ice Pillar down. I refresh my mana. I'm ready to keep playing. I didn't lose anything here really. Right, it refilled the mana that I had spent to cast it. Okay, that's fine. And now what's going on? Well, I gave an opponent vulnerable, so that if I did play it on defense, it's going to work on round start next turn anyway. I don't have to play it on my attack token, but I'm probably doing so. I have mana to spend, I can get things online, and I can use my big Overwhelm or Regen units to attack the vulnerable thing and kill it. So, okay, there's some decent stuff here. Would I main deck this card ever? No. But it does generate a card for me, right, that I can use, that's going to be happy, that's going to be useful. Okay, great, let's go. So I'm going to level up when I play the Ice Pillar, and the Ice Pillar is okay. When I level up, I get to level 2 Trundle, and level 2 Trundle is a 5 mana, 5/7 Overwhelm regen. So I gain +1/+1, and I gain Overwhelm. Okay, that's very good. A 5/5/7 Overwhelm regen is incredible in Expeditions, and I mean, not bad in Constructed. Because it also does other things, right? When I'm summoned, create an Ice Pillar in hand. So, you know, if in case it died, we can do it again at level 2. And hey, by the way, in case I manage to like create extra Ice Pillars somehow, of course you must have played the first one to get a level 2 Trundle. There's no other way to do it. You have to play the Ice Pillar to get level 2. So then if Trundle ever dies, I play level 2 Trundle and it goes back in hand. Okay, great. But when I attack, I get +1/+0 for each 8+ cost card I behold. So the Ice Pillar that's in hand is, well, for the first Trundle doesn't exist, right? The first Trundle has to play as Ice Pillar, and if you ever kill my Ice Pillar, I no longer behold it. It might still be in play. I might have 2 in play if you never kill these things off. Hey, cool, look at us, we're special. But hey, that can be a danger. But when I play level 2 Trundle from hand, I get a new Ice Pillar, I get to hold it off in hand, I get to behold it, and so it attacks, and it's a 6/7. And this is like pretty solid. If this card was a follower, it would be pretty good. It would not be an autoplay, but it's pretty solid. This is obviously very, very good, and you would like look to play this card. Trundle overall, I mean, it's a pretty well statted regen body. Those are hard to get rid of. This is a pretty good card in Expeditions. How is it in Constructed? He's a mid-range beatdown, and to be fair, 7 health Overwhelm is still pretty hard to get rid of. This is pretty tough, and I'm actually leaning towards 5 because it's not that hard to get online. I think Trundle is a champion that is self-sufficient, doesn't require a lot of synergy to get online, whereas, like, you know, Ezreal exists, but, like, you're really not getting Ezreal combos online. Heimer, meanwhile, was, like, pretty easy to get Heimer stuff online. Even in Expeditions, you could get a decent number of spells without too much difficulty. Trundle is pretty self-sufficient. He's hard to kill. He's got 6 health and regen at level 1. That's pretty hard to get rid of. He levels himself up, becomes really hard to get rid of. Now he's got 7 health in regen. And because with the Ice Pillar, you make things vulnerable, Trundle can guarantee that he hits a little 4/3, you know, or, you know, you throw an Omen Hawk into the 8/8 that's vulnerable and say, that's fine, that's good enough for me. Trundle's getting to face. And Trundle's going to get, you know, to 7/7 in the first round. And by the way, grant +1/+0. If you don't kill him the first time, he's a 7/7, then he's a 9/7, he's an 11/7. Yeah, it's like a little bit down the line. You're only playing Ice Pillar on round 8. So, hey, even on 8, this is still not going right away. Like, yeah, it's going to take some time to get there. But yeah, this is pretty solid overall. I like it a lot. So then we go to Icequake. I believe Icequake is Trundle's spell. We're going to delete the Ice Pillar point because it's not a real card. We just don't care. Icequake gives all units -3 health and then deals 3 to all units as well. So this is a lot of the regen synergy, right? Is there's a lot more Vladimir Freljord stuff going on. I will say a lot of the initial Scars units die to this. The vast majority of the Noxus when I benefit when I take damage, die to taking 3 damage. So this is like really unplayable and a lot of that stuff. And, you know, one of the primary archetypes is Vladimir and Freljord, and damaging lots of things and getting benefits out of that. You're not going to quite get there. It's also enough damage that you're really hurting tough. So if you're trying to play like, you know, the Demacia version somehow of, you know, take damage and survive and using tough from Demacia to make it happen, that's not really there either. And Freljord has a couple of tough units here as well. They have the 3/1. Well, that obviously dies to Avalanche as well as Icequake. But Icequake is like that is hey, it is and I'm trying to figure out exactly what you want out of Icequake. It is an 8-cost card, right? And an 8-cost spell, by the way, is way better than an 8-cost unit because you can play an 8-cost spell on round 5. And that is really important. Because on round 5, you are just deleting any Zoo's board. Just like pretty much outright. Now, if Bannerman comes down on time and buffs something to 4 health, okay, Bannerman dies, but everything else, you know, Fior is now too big. Lucian, if he's level 2, is now too big. War Chefs is too big. Okay, Brightstone Protector dies, that's nice. But like, yeah, it's better Avalanche in a way because, if your opponent is developing here, you could say, hey, let's go. Like, what's interesting is like Icequake is also kind of a net zero thing. Like, if you're fighting each other, nothing changes. I deal 3 less damage, you have 3 less health, it's all the same, and vice versa. Right, this doesn't actually affect combat, but it does get rid of all those 3 health defenders, right? And being bigger than Avalanche is relevant, because a lot of things have 3 health, and like a few things have 2 health, and a lot more have 3 health. Like, this does hit a pretty substantial breakpoint that Avalanche does not, and that's definitely relevant. It's definitely relevant. It kills Troop of Elnix, which I know doesn't get played, but like, hey, it's there. It kills Mighty Poro, which always pops out from Braum. It kills level 1 Callista. It kills level 2 Lucian. So like, we talked about Bannerman breaking things, but like things without Bannerman, things that aren't cheating their health up, like this hits a lot of targets. This does remove a lot of things. It kills level 1 Karma. That kills level 1 Heimerdinger. So does Avalanche, but it kills level Heimer's turrets. This does have a lot of targets, which, even though Avalanche is basically unplayable, Icequake hits a lot more things. And theoretically, it does something else beneficial, which is removing power from the board. And again, it hits yours as well as theirs. And a point I want to bring up is symmetrical effect. Symmetrical effects are good in a card game where you have control over your own cards, because you can build a deck where the symmetrical effect is better for you than for your opponent, right? If you are for some reason playing like a very, very low unit count thing, I mean, this is like instant levels Swain, for example. Like, there's no way Swain just doesn't instantly hit level 2 off of this card hitting the deck or hitting the board at pretty much any point in time. Like, that's the kind of stuff it matters, right? Like, I care about Swain XP, so Icequake hits 4 units and it happens. That's very easy to do. I have a ton of high health regen things that can tank this damage and it's fine. You decided to not block me because my regen units are too good. Well, that's nice. Icequake, your board's dead. And my regen units all have 5 health, so we're good here. Like, there's something there for that. Icequake is not too slow to be played because it's a spell. It can be played on round 5. I will say that this is a decent enough board clear. Even if it doesn't kill everything, it at least makes the other attackers weak enough that they can't, punish you. The only problem is, again, your opponent can open attack and you can't do anything with this. I'm going to go with 2 because I think it's still really hard to get this to be good because it still is slow. I could easily be wrong, and this is a huge include, because what does everyone do on round 5 but panic because they can't win the game in time? And in fact, Freljord or Targon, I forget which, has a really, really nice card that can do some nice things for you so that you can survive through round 8 or something. And like, this actually might end up being a combo where it's like, well, I Icequake you and then I heal back to full and then let's do this. Okay, let's move on. It's situational at best, though, I think. It's not a card you auto-include. It is situational at best, and I'm not sure it's even playable then. So go down to Augur of the Old Ones. It is a 6-mana, 5/5 Overwhelm regen. That is a bad card. That is basically unplayable and constructed, and it's mediocre in expeditions. But if you behold an 8+ cost card, grant another ally Overwhelm and regen. So, it's not going to hit Trundle, but hey, maybe we put it down on curve and we gave, Troll, well, maybe not Troll Ravager, maybe Troll Scavenger is now a 4/3 Overwhelm regen. I'm sure there is a very good card here that I'm not thinking of that's going to be good on. I mean, this is sick on Lucian. He has double strike and Overwhelm. What do you do about that? If you don't kill Lucian, he just hard wins the game. This doesn't directly add power to the unit, but it makes whatever big thing you have quite nice. Vlad would like to have Overwhelm. And of course, level 2, he already has regen, but sure, whatever. Garen feels good about this one. Fiora doesn't feel too bad about this. Regen's great because you can heal up your Fiora. Tryndamere, likes the regen side of it, so he stays full health forever. If you're playing something really incredible like She Who Wanders, she's now, a 10/10 regen Overwhelm. Time to lose, I guess. This can be a cool combo piece, but I mean, realistically, if you're playing this late on 6, okay, there's a couple things here, right? So, like, again, your 8-drop can be on the board. You top deck this and you go, here you go, you're awesome now, right? Like, that's really beneficial. That is really, really nice. I'm also not sure, by the way, how it works with something like Plaza Guardian. Because when Plaza Guardian is played, maybe it gets played as a 2 cost, but does it become an 8 cost when it's in play? Maybe, like, I don't know for sure, and maybe it's answered on Twitter somewhere and I didn't see it, but, like, does Plaza Guardian go back to being a 10 cost card when it's in play? I don't know that answer for sure, but, like, that would be interesting. There's a combo here, but the card still feels pretty bad. Like, clearly there is an expedition archetype around beholding greatness, beholding glory, and, you make these big things that all have regen and overwhelm and just can't die, and you're just like a really heavy zoo deck, and you just, quite literally overwhelm your opponent because your stuff just won't die, and they're going to run out of removal. That deck is probably pretty good, but, man, I just don't like this card very much. Like, you're opting into a 6-mana 5/5 that, like, buffs a smaller thing that should probably already be contested on the board with regen and overwhelm, but that card should probably already be contested and lose. In a top deck war, this is not bad. It's a decent amount of stats and it throws some more stats on the board, but I don't know. Like, I just don't like this card very much. I just don't think this grouping is strong. There's clearly a synergy here, but I just don't see it. I just don't think it's good enough. We saw Ice Pillar. We then go to Broad-Backed Protector. Now, this is obviously very small, a little bit hard to read. It is a 4-mana 2/7 from Targon. And on round start, heal your Nexus for 3, and then deal damage to me equal to the amount healed. So it is a stalling tool. And what's nice, by the way, is that you can give this thing permanent health. You can give this thing tough. Now, because it's dealing 3 each time, it is still going to lose 2 against tough, so it's not quite there. As we saw with the Powder Monkey generator, the Forbidden Idol, like, that card is a meme card at best. It's like, we gave it tough. Yeah, no one cares. Like, yeah, you can give this thing a Chain Vest and buff it with War Chefs and, like, do other stuff. You can never give it Barrier in time. It's on round start. If it was round end, there'd be something there, right? Like, attack with it with Shen, and then it's got Barrier, and it didn't get blocked, and so now it's not going to hurt itself. Like, there are some really cool synergies if it was on round to end. And in fact, even things like Taric, where it makes it, undamageable this round. It's like, well, nope, it just doesn't take the damage. Like, there could have been some really cool combo pieces there that, like, kind of would have been more fun to deal with, and maybe that would have been really frustrating. Maybe they would have been, right? The fact that you can live forever is a problem. Living forever is a design tenet that Riot really tries to not have happen in this game, so I understand round start, even for those edge cases. But heal your Nexus 3, hurt me again. So it's like, okay, you play a 4-mana 2/7, which is 9 stats for 4, which is okay. It's playable. But I'm eventually going to kill myself. At the end of the day, I am going to heal for 9, right? I'm going to heal for 3. I'm going to heal for 6. If I was never in combat, I'm a 2/1. And then I heal for 3 and int. Okay, so I'm a 4-mana unit that heals for 9. And in a pinch, I can block. This obviously gives Targon some stalling, right? It can just be a 2/7, which is bad, but at least, it fights things. The fact that it has a lot of health means you can definitely support it, and it's okay. Again, permanent stats is a really big deal. The fact that this is a 2/7 means it's going to live through the permanent stats. So the earlier Targon card that, gave +2/+2 down the line, as long as you have more support synergy, yeah, this is going to feel pretty good. You kind of want high health units to support them, to make them big. Like, that's going to be there. That's going to feel pretty solid. This thing's going to live when Taric buffs it. That's there to a certain degree. Lulu can bring this back to being a 4/4, which is nice. Which can kind of heal it for a bit, so that when it gets into combat, it's okay. I don't quite know how Lulu reverting with that 5/5, because it clearly turns back at the end of the round, I believe. No, here we're gonna scroll up and look at Lulu real quick, because I forget if it says this round or not. Lulu is this round, yeah. So it doesn't stick at 5/5. Like, that could have been something, right? Like, it hurts itself, but then you go again before it's too late. If you can, like, heal it a little bit at some point. But, I don't know. This card feels really bad for for Expeditions. For Constructed, I'm going to give it, it's still only in certain decks, right? Like, this still feels really, really situational. And again, at some point, Targon has to sit on its, stand on its own 2 feet, right? Like, the 3-mana 2/4 Challenger, Laurent Protege? Pretty sure. It's just a good card in Demacia. You don't have to play Zoo. You don't have to play War Chefs. You don't have to play Right Shield Protector, but this card's good all the time. War Chefs is just a 2-mana 2/3 that gives someone stats. It's just like great all the time. It's just a good card overall. Deny and Will of Ionia and, these kinds of cards are like just good all the time. Like they just do obvious good things on the tin. And I don't feel like we're seeing many of these cards right now. So that's the concern I have, is that like these cards were like, well, there's some combo pieces here, but unless I'm playing support synergy, why am I ever playing Targon for anything at all? I don't feel like I'm seeing like generically good cards. And maybe I'm really undervaluing the support synergies. And maybe I'm really undervaluing a card that just heals you. And just like, look, this just lets you stall out. It costs me 1 card, I heal for 9. I'm going to heal on round start on 5, round start on 6, round start on 7. That's enough that it's going to happen all 3 times and I'm not going to die to aggro. Like that might just be good enough. Like it's okay to have cards that's like, look, this body's not very good, but I'm going to heal for 9. Worth. And that might be where Broadback Protector is. Like I really may be just undervaluing heal yourself for 9, because unless your opponents make this vulnerable or get Challenger or waste burn on this thing, this card is 4 mana heal for 9 and it comes down in time that you're okay with it. That is not a bad card. Like that isn't. Like it really, really isn't. I just don't know if it's enough. Maybe it is. Maybe I'm really undervaluing this and I'm being really pessimistic. This card's fine. I think it's bad in Expeditions. In Constructed, I might bump this up to a 3. I'm really torn. We'll go 3 to say, hey, it's got enough broad appeal that it's not just a single deck archetype. This is a card that you're like really considering playing. I think it's going to be there. All right. Revitalizing Roar. 7 mana spell in Freljord. I am slow, sure, whatever. Pick a unit in your hand and reveal it. Heal your Nexus by its power, and if I am enlightened, reduce its cost to 0. So if I already have enough mana to play any unit in the game, I can spend 7 mana to make this card cost 0 instead. So this lets you on round 10 say, hey, by the way, She Who Wanders costs 0. It's mana efficient, of course, right? It allows you to spend spell mana on it. So you can play a 6-drop, play Revitalizing Roar, and then play a 10-drop in the same round. Yeah, you have to have all your mana, sure, whatever, but like there's some cheating that goes on there, right? This can convert spell mana into unit mana and then also give you 3 more free mana in the optimal cases. This gets, again, it doesn't get units down early because it won't reduce cost to 0 early, but it is a 7 mana heal. So it's a 7 mana, reveal Tryndamere, heal for 8. 7 mana, reveal She Who Wanders, heal for 10. 7 mana, reveal They Who Endure, heal for 15. There's something here for this, right? This is the first time we're seeing debatably good healing effects in a long time. Citrus Courier was okay. It was some healing. It, came in a pinch, but was still a little bit awkward. And at the end of the day, we didn't see a lot of Citrus Courier. I was right. The card is fine. It was not incredible. Best I can recall anyway. I don't think the card was really that good. It was okay. But okay. This is a couple things at once, right? And it's a little bit hard to critique because it does a couple different things. Okay, in a pinch, it's a heavy healing spell. It's like, okay, we're running out of time. Okay, on round 5, we're just going to reveal Tryndamere and heal for 8. It's an awkward use of this card because it means you're spending your entire round just healing for 8, and well, your opponent just develops into that, and you're going to lose 8 health next round. Like, that's a little tough. But it does let you stall, right? If you're not getting full combo by Ezreal, that's enough, right? Getting back to full health, the problem can be like they play They Who Endure, and you're like, oh crap, I gotta revitalize. Like, well, sorry, they played Atrocity against this, so you're gonna die before this resolves, right? Like, that's difficult. This obviously couldn't be burst speed because you would cheat out way too much stuff and it would be like really, really awkward. I saw a post on the subreddit that was like, hey, you can make this cool infinite combo, or at least like a 1-hit combo where you reveal the Ice Pillar and make it cost 0 so that it's a 0 mana, refill 8 mana combo piece. Let's go. That maybe exists with Revitalizing Roar and Ice Pillars. I mean, maybe. Regardless, Revitalizing Roar is honestly kind of one. It's a dead card until you're enlightened, and there's better enlightened cards in expeditions. I don't think this card's ever good in expeditions. In constructed, it's at best a combo piece. Again, it is a healing tool, but it's a bad healing tool because it doesn't do anything. Like in most cases, Revitalizing Roar is a worse version of the Ionia heal 7, draw 1. But you can heal 7, draw 1 on 7 without a required other card. I don't think the enlightened combo is going to matter. I mean, maybe it does, and I'm wrong, but even then, it's still a specific archetype. So, yeah, not a huge fan of this one. We then go to Resplendent Stellacorn, which is when I play, I heal an ally and your Nexus for 3. It's a 5-mana 4/5. Okay, it's a 5-mana 4/5. That is pretty bad, but hey, heal a unit, heal my Nexus, buy some time, right? We're getting a lot of healing cards in here, and I'm not sure exactly how much to put a price on healing cards. People play a 3-mana 3/2 lifesteal on purpose, even if they're not playing Toss Synergy. Now, you really care if you're playing Toss Synergy, but a 3-mana 3/2 lifesteal is a good card. It's going to hit exactly once. I'm overpaying by 1 for it, but I'm going to heal for 3. I'm overpaying 1 for a 4/5, and I'm going to heal for 3. Now, the difference, though, is the 3-mana 3/2 will trade against almost any 2 or 3 drop and keep you up on curve. A 5-mana 4/5 starts to lose some luster pretty quickly and doesn't always trade against the board. In a lot of cases, it will. Keeping a Fiora healthy or a War Chef's healthy can also matter. This seems decent. I'm going to go for a solid 3 here. I think this card is actually... I mean, it's a tough call, right? Because I am overpaying for a fairly vanilla body, right? And the big thing is, like, I am not affecting the board directly in any way. Not really. I mean, very rarely does healing unit for 3 actually matter because by necessity, it is a cheaper unit, right? I'm healing a 2-drop for 3. I'm healing maybe a 4-drop for 3. Giving War Chefs 1 more health doesn't mean a whole lot. War Chefs is probably still dying to whatever blocks it next round. Healing Fiora maybe matters, right? And, you know, this actually might happen because keep in mind, Targon has a lot of, I'm going to grant my teammate some permanent buffs, and, I've got this 6/6 that lost 3 health. Well, it's back to being a 6/6 now. Like, there's a certain part of that does matter and does exist. So maybe it really is going to be fine, right? Maybe this is actually good enough, but at the same time, it's a 5-mana 4/5 that, like, heal your Nexus 3 is a pretty awkward, like, it's only good in very specific scenarios, but I don't know, like, part of me really believes that the fact that there's healing that's not that badly costed is worth it. Like, I'm thinking back to, like, old Hearthstone with Ancient Healbot, a 5-mana 3/3 that healed your Nexus for 8, and that card was in basically every deck. It was in basically every deck. That card was probably the best card of that set, and that set had some really absurd cards in it. And, like, Hearthstone units are costed about the same as Legends of Runeterra units. I mean, roughly the case. Like, they've also got 4-mana 4/5s that are solid expeditions and unplayable and constructed. A 5-mana 4/5 that heals your Nexus for 3 is not that bad. I'm going to stick with a 3. Maybe it's wrong, but I'm just not sure. And we're going to stop here with this video, by the way. We're going for only this set because we're going to do the Nightfall Daybreak stuff next time around. Part 3 is going to do Nocturne and Leona. So I'll see you next time. Thanks very much for watching. And we rambled on for a while. I hope you enjoyed.